Yeah, it's regarding the cost where they're basically going, we don't fucking care, spend $80 for the base game. Is bottom line what it seems like it's going to be. He tried to pull some bullshit. I get the feeling this is going to be another one of, what, don't you guys have phones? Kind of situation. So, Neon, I don't know if it's just Neon or if Geeky is here too, but they put out a video like 2 days ago about this. So let's just see. It's more evidence stockpiling up that the gaming industry is out to fuck you. Really, Sketty? Which one? Which book, Sketty? Which one did you buy? I can't remember which one you said you bought. Was it, okay, Sketty, that doesn't help. I have 2 standalones and 2 full series. The first one doesn't help. Wait, which one? Which first? Which one? Oh, Resurgence. Okay, I really hope you like it, Sketty. I really hope you enjoy it. Alright, chat. Let us find out. Yes, Dropkick, I have books. I have, 13 or 16 books that I've published. The links for them are in the About section of the stream. Alright, chat. Let's get ready to see how the gaming industry is trying to screw over gamers again. That's loud.
Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, and we're going to talk about Randy Pitchford sticking his foot in his mouth, very, very far into his mouth, saying that if you're a real fan, you will buy $80 games. Real fans spend $80 on video games. This has been a point of contention now for the last year or two, especially with all the talk around Grand Theft Auto 6. Now Nintendo Switch 2 games are going to cost $80, $90 reportedly. And he's saying, yeah, if you're a real fan, you will find a way. You will find a way. You'll mow some lawns or something to buy that $80 game, or maybe they won't. Right? We're gonna talk about that too, because there's been a lot.
I don't know if he's gonna bring this tweet back up again, but I will read it now. Someone, the treasure teacher, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers are going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. Randy's response: A, not my call. Press X to doubt on that one. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to spend $80 on our game. That is not someone who is in charge of a company with the mindset of making a game for people to have fun. Right there. That statement right there is not coming out of the mouth of someone who wants to make games for people to enjoy. At all. This is basically gaslighting. This is someone that is trying to gaslight gamers and say, if you were a true fan of the Borderlands franchise, you'd find some way to spend $80. I know that the economy is literally in the shitter right now, and people are struggling just to get by, but if you're a true fan, you're gonna give up those groceries for a week so you can play our fucking game. That's what this is saying right now. If you're a real fan, you'll give up eating for a week so you can buy our game. And I'll remind everybody, $80 is before tax. This is before tax. And this is in the US. In Canada, this will be $100. The $80 game in the US, if I was to be interested in that game here in Canada, it will be $100 to start before tax. Just as a reminder of the current pricing increase in games. And Australia's even worse, Anubis. I think Australia, this $80 price tag balloons up to somewhere around $120 in Australia. Like, yeah, Canada gets fucked more than the US does. Australia just gets reamed up the ass, no lube and no reach around. Like, it's even worse for them. It's terrible. Yeah. And then he comes up with this excuse. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991. I'm gonna need receipts on that one. I'm gonna need the receipts on that one that he bought a game for the Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991. I'm not entirely sure I believe that. But even if it's true, even if that's true, the economy was very fucking different in 1991.
No.
Yes. 1991 economy versus 2025 economy is extremely different. Yeah, Llama, that's why I'm thinking I'm gonna need him to cite his fucking source on this one other than my sources I made it the fuck up. Because right now, this is I made this the fuck up. Just so I can make it seem like, oh, you know, $80 isn't so much. I paid him $80 for a game in 1991, which I'm thinking is bullshit. I'm 100% thinking bullshit. Sphinx, I believe so. I believe it was.
Or maybe they won't. Right? We're gonna talk about that too, because there's been a lot of talk that a lot of gamers are pivoting away from AAA games. They're going back to retro games. They're going with indie games.
Yes, yes, they are.
You know, look at Expedition 33, did very, very well. Very small team, relatively low price tag, and you know, it sold a lot of copies, right? But let's talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. News.
Okay, Andre, that sounds about right. That sounds $69.99 does sound about right.
For our newsletter, please, in case YouTube forgets about us, because there are some AI shenanigans going on, I believe, at YouTube. Just a hunch I have.
There are.
I've been talking to people, comparing
notes.
Yes,
there are.
And there has been an algorithm change this month. And, you know, for some people it's favorable, and for some people it is not favorable. So I want to make sure that you do not lose track of us. News.clownfishtv.com. And you'll be made aware of where we're going. Maybe one of these days we'll just go over there, not even be over here. I have no idea. I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, let's talk about this. This comes from Gaming Bolt. Borderlands 4 developer
Here
CEO
we fucking go.
says real fans would buy the game even at $80.
Moose, I can tell you this. Actually, I'm trying to. Okay, I have to think back because I bought a PS5 for someone in my family for Christmas this year or last year. And I believe I could be mistaken about this. It's been a while, so I don't quite remember the exact price, but I think I paid about $800 for the PS5 that I got my family for Christmas. I think. I could be mistaken about that. It was several months ago. But I think that was, well, that was, Machinist, that was my big gift for Christmas. That was my big gift expenditure for Christmas. I didn't, you know, I didn't buy a whole lot of it. I didn't go spending crazy for Christmas present. That was the one big thing for Christmas. Normal APOC. Just a normal PlayStation 5. So yeah, that's what I was looking at up here for PS5, and I don't think it's changed. I honestly don't think it's changed all that much.
He also brings up an anecdote from 1991 about having to save up money to buy Starflight for the Sega Genesis. Now, look, he's not completely wrong in what he's saying. Let's look at his tweet first, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
He was replying to this guy here.
There we go.
Who was talking about Borderlands 4
uh-huh.
For the Nintendo Switch 2. This guy, YJ says, Randy, the game better not be $80. don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the
Digital,
price tag.
Alex.
You're the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. He says, no, it's not my call, A. And B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage in an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. Not
okay, Randy. You were just out of high school, which means you were still living with mommy and daddy. Which means at the time, while you were working that minimum wage job, your paycheck probably went all the way into your pocket. You didn't have to pay things like rent. You didn't have to pay things like electrical. You didn't have to pay things like food. You didn't have to pay things like water. You didn't have to pay things like internet. The money went in your pocket because chances are, if you were just out of high school, you were still living at home. So you could very easily save up $80 to buy that Starflight for Nintendo Genesis. That's not the case anymore, jack off. Number one, shit costs a lot more fucking expensive. All utilities have gone up. Food has gone up. Gas has gone up. Internet has gone up. Just the bare essentials of cost of living has skyrocketed, and pay has not increased to match it. Even if you were working a high school job and minimum wage, let's go on the assumption. Let us just go on the assumption that Randy did have an apartment. Okay, let's do a benefit of the doubt that Randy had an apartment and was living on his own, working the minimum wage at an ice cream parlor. Okay, let's benefit and doubt this for the sake of this example. What you are paying for rent and utilities and food is maybe a 1/10 of what that costs now. And what you earned from minimum wage when you just got out of high school back in 1991, the minimum wage has barely gone up from what you were earning back in 1991 to what the workers now in 2025 are working. Your argument is invalid. You are a fucking idiot. Shut the fuck up. Just admit that you are a money-grubbing bastard, and that's it. People would probably actually have a little bit more respect for you if you said, we're in this business to make money, and we need it. You know what? If he had said, we are in this business to make fun games, but we are also in this business to make money. And with the increase in costs, we have to charge $80 in order to recoup that cost and maintain a viable company to continue to make more games. If he'd said that, which is what it is, that's the truth. I need to go, granted it's putting aside beef, he needs to go buy another yacht. If he had said something along the lines of, while cost of living has increased, so has the cost of making these products has also increased, labor costs has increased, and to try and meet those increasing costs, we have had to increase the cost of the game in order for our company to remain viable and continue to put out products that you as the gamer can enjoy. If he had said that, people would have still grumbled and been upset about it. But it wouldn't have had this level of reaction where they're going, Randy, you are so full of shit, it defies description. Because he said this bullshit, he just killed the fan base. And the fan base just said, guess I'm not a real fan. I ain't spending $80 on your fucking game. I'm not going to spend $80 on a game when the CEO of the fucking company looks at the fans like numbers on a spreadsheet. Point fucking blank.
Not a good thing to say right now, especially when Borderlands, the brand, is damaged and gamers are not happy about $80 games.
Okay. Sorry, yeah. Off topic. Word God? You want to know a little secret, Word God? You want to know a little secret? I'd be happy to share it with you if you want to know a little secret. I'm an author, right? I'm an author. I published 13 books. I don't have a bachelor's. I don't have a bachelor's degree. And I published 13 books. So fuck the average when it comes to being an author. If you want to write a story, if you want to write a book, write your story. Write your book. Go for it. And that's not being me. That's not me being sarcastic. That is me genuinely saying, if you have a story and if you have a story you want to tell, if you have a book that you want to write, go for it. Absolutely go for it.
It's a really stupid thing to say. Now, is he incorrect? No, he's not incorrect. I do remember games costing.
It'll happen,
now,
Dylan.
I saw
Don't
some
worry.
other flyers going around with like $95 games. It has got to be Canadian or something because I like lived at Toys R Us. I actually worked at a KB Toys in the early 90s.
Very likely probably was Canadian.
After school. And I was actually the Super Nintendo sales boy. They had they gave us like little jackets and stuff. And that was one of my first jobs. I do remember games creeping up to $69.99 seemed to be the high end. There were some games that were more.
Yeah. And that's the key point of note here. This one that we see here that's $69, these two games are $69. These are the high end. Okay, these are the AAA tentpole titles. This is not the average. The average is going to be more like the $52 ones down here. Is what the average might be. Maybe the 59. This is like, what's a good example? I mean, granted, there's not really any AAA games right now that I could list off that would want. Okay, here we go. This level pricing is like what you would see with like Black Myth Wukong. If Black Myth Wukong came out during the 90s when this flyer was present, it would have this price tag. That's the level of game that you were charging this kind of dollar for.
He's talking about Sega Genesis. I do remember Phantasy Star 2 was a $70 game in 1991. Phantasy Star 2 and Phantasy Star 3 were both $70, and Phantasy Star 4,
they were top tier games,
as well as Virtual Racing, I believe, were $100 when they came out. I'm not even kidding. They were $100 games, but they were on cartridges, and they were high memory cartridges that had, in the case of Virtual Racing, had a special chip in it. So I mean, that kind of, we understood that, right? We understood it. But yeah, some of the higher end Super NES games, Street Fighter Alpha 2, which I keep forgetting even came out for the Super NES. It was there. It had load time, which I thought was kind of weird. It would load between levels, but it was actually a pretty decent port. The Donkey Kong games.
Good question, Violet. I don't know.
Mortal Kombat 3, again, high RAM on the,
yeah. And that's the overriding thing, Ping, exactly. This is also back during a time when the dollar had a higher value. The dollar did a great deal more work for you back then than it does today. Also, take note of the price of the console. Yeah, the game is $69. The console is only $129. Because they're making their money on the games, not necessarily the consoles. Now, you're spending close to, at least up in my direction, you're spending close to $1,000 on a console, and then they're wanting you to spend now like $100 per game. And most of the games that come out are buggy as hell, that they're solely reliant on day one patches to fix very serious problems. And the games themselves is, you can't necessarily return them easily. And the games themselves largely suck. And no one's going to want to spend $80, $90, $100 on a game that you don't know if it's going to be good because of the current track record. Games back during this period had a proven track record of being good. If you bought a game on the old school consoles, there was a pretty proven track record that the game was going to be good, generally speaking. Now, the proven track record is chances are the game is going to be bad. Depending on the publisher, which most of the quote-unquote top-tier publishers are just putting out dog shit time after time after time. And so when you have a track record of dog shit, people are not going to burn $100 on a game that within the first couple of hours after the return time period has already lapsed, they're not going to burn $100 and go, this game sucks, now I'm stuck with it. In the modern day economy, it is not a viable option anymore.
ROM on those cartridges.
Yeah.
Megabits. We dealt with megabits back then. It was crazy. Like, oh my God, 8 megabits, guys, 16 megabits. What are we going to do? And these games were
because the indie publishers actually care about the games they put out.
And they were expensive because that memory was expensive back then. Chips were expensive. But this is not something you want to talk about now. Not in this climate. Tebow says, no way you actually said this shit. How many units of Starflight were...
Oh, shoot. I forgot to do that. And Dwayne, thank you for the tier 1. I forgot to turn off alerts. Whoopsie. Yeah, and we're right. Yeah, that's with the Switch 2, that's the case. With the Switch 2, you will not get a physical copy. You basically just get a download key. And many Xbox and PlayStation are going that route too, where you buy the quote physical copy. There's no disc in there. It's just a download code. That is the way it's going. The gaming industry is going to 100% digital, and physical copies are going away, which is a dangerous precedent because if you have a digital copy, you don't own it. A digital copy of the game, you rent it. You don't own it. Because at any time, that game could be ripped off your hard drive. At any time. And it's happened. Prime example is the Silent Hill demo. I forget what it was called. What was that that Kojima Silent Hill demo? PT, yes, thank you. Yeah, PT, prime example. You downloaded PT. You played PT. You love PT. You repeatedly played PT because it was an awesome mini demo game. And then Sony literally ripped it off of every consumer's hard drive. And you could never play it again. That can happen to the games that you actually pay for. And yeah, that's the other part, War God, is if you game on console, you're also shelling out at least $20-25 a month just so you can play it online. Okay, Destar, have a good night. Yeah, it's a shit show with consoles right now. The console industry is basically trying to milk the consumer for every fucking dime they can. All the time. So their CEOs can go buy another fucking yacht. PT was a demo on the PlayStation. It was a demo game to promote a Silent Hill game written by Hideo Kojima that unfortunately never came to be. But it was basically a demo / promotion for Silent Hill, and it was creepy as hell. It was great to play, but the game never came out, so people still had their PT demo that they would still sometimes play. And then Sony ripped the game out of every consumer's PlayStation. They literally removed it from their game library if you were connected to the internet.
Were sold in total. Yeah, how many units of Borderlands 4 do you expect to move? The $80 price point wasn't a thing when it went into development. Why not keep the targeted 70 to show your fans some goodwill? Yeah, that's actually what's killing the new Doom game, I guess, is the price tag for digital. It's like $70, which I didn't know. That's pretty high. I think I bought Doom Eternal couple months after it came out for like $20 or something.
Alex, I thought that they actually ripped it off the hard drive. They did? I thought for sure it got, like, people were reporting that it actually got yoinked off their hard drive. Am I wrong about that? Or, like, if you had it on your hard drive and then you disconnected the PlayStation from the internet, what am I thinking of that? What am I confusing it with that? I remember I very likely could be. Okay, it was the crew that got. Okay, so I'm mixing up PT and the crew. Okay, my mistake. I'm mixing up my games. It was the crew that got pulled from the hard drive. Okay, that's the one. What did the crew actually get removed, or did it just basically it doesn't work? It's still on your console, but if you try and boot it up, it doesn't fucking work at all. Because I know, like, the crew took the servers offline. It doesn't even boot, they completely bricked it. Okay, there it is. There it is.
Something like that. It's a good game. It is. Maybe keep the budget in check for the next one. You can get out a $60 game and get praise like Expedition 33 and the Oblivion remake got for pushing out at $50. Yeah, we're reaching a tipping point
they
right
are.
now. People are not going to pay to play an $80 game that is, I love this, that is not very good and not finished. A lot of these AAA titles, not very good, not finished. A real CEO would find the best way to entice customers to buy the product. Perhaps you need to retire and talk about current priorities and economics to those working at ice cream parlors today. Maybe try to reconnect with reality. Let's see you make it happen. This is the guy who responded to, bro, you can fuck off, Randy. Real fan, the fuck. I played Borderlands since its release in 2009. Every game I've played since that release. It's clear gamers are on my side and agree with my take. You're the fucking CEO, Randy. You have say, you just don't want to fucking admit it. Yeah, he does.
Yes. Yes, he does.
He has to say on the price tag, he can push for $70 price tag.
Yeah, he can't, because if he tried to do that with the publisher, key thing here, it's all in his words. Randy's saying, I have no say. He didn't say, I talked with the publisher about it and tried to push for the $70 price tag, and the publisher overrode me, and unfortunately, there's nothing more I can do about that because we are in contract. But he didn't say that. He just said, no, I can't do it. It's all in what he says. So, but Anubis, he didn't put it that way. He didn't say, I tried to talk to the execs at Take-Two to try and keep the price at the original $70 price tag that we had forecasted at, and Take-Two said, nope, we have to put it at this. He didn't even indicate that he made the barest fucking effort. If he had said, I tried, but Take-Two insisted that it has to be at this price, and really, I've done, there's nothing more that I can say to them because of our contracts or whatever, that would have been acceptable if he'd said that. People would have been like, okay, it sucks, but at least he's saying that he tried. He didn't even get this poster, the treasured treacher, the courtesy of saying, I even tried. He just basically went, nah, if you're a real fan, you'll spend $80. He basically just went, nah, fuck you. That's literally what he said. His statement was literally, nah, go fuck yourself.
It's not going well. Let's just say it's not going well for them. And this is part of a bigger discussion. And I honestly would not have, if it were me,
exactly.
Given the controversy around the pricing, I don't think I would have addressed it, or I would have said, hey, we're going to do what we can do. But, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not my call. That would have been the correct way to respond to it and be like, we're not going to know what it's actually going to cost until we release it, right? That would have been the correct way to respond to it. To be condescending and be like, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way. You'll find a way to find that $80.
Yeah.
That is not a good thing to say, dude. You might have just cost yourself millions and millions of dollars. This is like
Yep,
Blizzard. You all have phones, right? You all have a cell phone, right?
exactly. Exactly what I was saying. What, don't you all have cell phones? It's the same energy. Same energy. And this poster, Synth Potato, has an outstanding fucking point. We are not paying $8 for a Borderlands game, fully knowing you'll do multiple season passes that'll cost another $100, and you'll probably sell weapon skins too, which is going to cost God knows how much. You know, they're gonna microtransaction the shit out of it because that's what all the AAA studios do now. They microtransaction the ever-living fuck out of their games. So it's $80 on top of the season pass that you'll probably have to get in order to have fun. And then the weapon skins that they're gonna push like fucking crazy. It's fucking insane. It's the disconnect of these people is mind-boggling. How fucking disconnected they are from their customer base. They literally just like, come on, you poors, give us some more money. That's literally how this reads. It's like, dude, we don't want to pay $80 for your game. Look, you filthy poors. If you're a true fan, you'll pay. You'll give me my money. The problem is, they don't have to give them money. Borderlands is not essential service. People can very easily live without playing Borderlands 4. It's not hard to do. Unless Randy is really like all in on the theory that video games are addictive and that people are so addicted that they will compulsively spend $80. And if that's the case, that's a whole different holy fuck kind of moment.
This is one of the worst CEO replies from recent memory. Yeah, I think it's a terrible way to respond. I mean, you're basically bitch slapping somebody who asked a legitimate question and said, look, I have a concern as a consumer, as a gamer. We're seeing $80 games. They're too expensive.
Silver, this guy Graves said exactly what you said. $80.91 is about $186 today after inflation. That means $80 today would have only been worth $34, $35 back then. Said the exact same thing you did.
Expensive. And you just like slapped him upside the head and said, bitch, go find that money. $80.91 is about $186 after inflation. That means $80 today would have only been $34, $35 back then. Worth $34, $35 back then. You're basically spending $200
well, they're
on
the
an
try hard
physical
sweat
game.
lords, Revin.
Spending that today for a digital license you don't even own is wild. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the whole thing. Spending it for a digital license that you don't even own, you're renting your game. Exactly. And Andrea, I suspect that they pushed out the trailer for Borderlands 4 because of the Borderlands movie. That's why the Borderlands 4 trailer released so soon after the Borderlands movie launched in theaters, because they were trying to distract from it, because the Borderlands movie was a Gearbox product. Gearbox was heavily involved in the Borderlands movie. And it did so fucking bad, they're like, okay, shit, we gotta recoup here. And so they pushed out the Borderlands 4 trailer to go, look, keys, shiny new object, look over here. And now with this response to the $80 price tag, people are going, yeah, it's one shit show after another. Dad talk about game prices in the past. What they don't say is the cost. Well, yeah, D-Dragos, you may have come in a bit late on that. I said exactly that. That is exactly what I said earlier in this react, that the cost of living was far different. You probably missed it, but I said exactly that already. And thank you. I'm glad you liked the model.
That was the thing. The Phantasy Star games, or at least two, had a tip book with it, and the tip book by itself was probably a $10 or $15 item. 3 did not, 4 did not. But
it did, Nick.
Again,
it flopped
they
big
had massive
time. People hated it.
Sizes for the time, plus battery save and all of that. Plus, I think honestly with the RPGs, and Chrono Trigger was expensive too. Secret of Mana was expensive too. I think they knew they were going to sell fewer copies. So they basically charged a premium. And RPGs in some ways felt more special because they cost a lot. So you tend to value them more when you buy.
Yeah. And RPGs were much more content rich. Back then when Neon's talking about is the RPG games were they were filled to the brim with content, atmosphere, dialogue, and story. And so because of all that extra, people were willing to pay more for RPGs back in the day because of that. Now it's RPGs are kind of the mainstay, and the content is questionable, to say the least. So, the concept of the RPG back then was newer. Most games back then were action or sports or, something like that. And RPGs were actually more niche, realistically. But because they were so packed to the brim with content, the developers and the publishers could get away with asking more for them because there was so much more in them. Like, the amount of work that was put into making them to fill them with such a plethora of content justified the increased price tag. Not so much anymore. Yes, Cortanas, the CEO of Gearbox basically said, in response to, you better not charge $80 for this game. And the CEO of Gearbox, Randy Pitchford, said, if you're a true fan, you'll find a way to spend $80. Poor. I added that last part in.
Buy them because, I had to mow a lot of lawns to buy Phantasy Star. So I'm going to enjoy the hell out of Phantasy Star, except for 3. 3 was 2 and 4 were fantastic, but 3 was You're beyond cooked. Way to endear yourselves to any fans there. Randy says Tesla tidbits. Borderlands 3 was a technical mess and the series needs a hit. And you're out here talking about who real fans are. Way to earn that $80, man. Possibly the worst CEO reply I've ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah. You might have just cost Randy. You might have just cost your game hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue because people are going to bring this up. I do not think the board
is going to be very happy with Randy.
Stephen Voiceover says, aside from the obvious problem with your post, you're assuming that people simply don't have the money. We do. We're just not spending that much on your shitty, overpriced game. Don't worry about the backlash. Yes. I'm sure the internet will forget. No, it's going to come up again and again and again and again.
Yep. In this space,
gamers of
this stuff will constantly be talked about
when the game drops, and it drops at $80 or $90 or whatever. And remember, the movie was a massive failure too. So, what a stupid thing to say. They have anything else in this article? The post by Pitchford hasn't been received kindly as replies. Several fans of Borderlands have responded by making fun of his attempt to gatekeep.
Now, what I'm curious about, is he going to do a backpedal? Is he going to do a backpedal and an apology trying to say, well, you misunderstood what I was saying. What I was actually trying to say was... And I wonder, because if was it fuck. Oh my God, it just went right in my head. The company that Gearbox was bought by. Oh fuck, that company name just flew right out of my head. Chat, who was it that bought Gearbox? Who owns Gearbox now? Is it 2 Cent? Take-Two, thank you. God, the name went right out of my fucking head. I don't know why. Yeah, my guess is Take-Two is probably got on the phone when this hit and this went viral. Take-Two probably got on the phone with Randy and said, "Dude, you need to start apologizing right fucking now." And my guess is the members of the board are going to go, we may need a new CEO for Gearbox in the near future. Because right now, the games industry is dying. Especially the AAA gaming industry is dying. And any bad press translates into millions of dollars lost. That is what bad press now will tank a fucking game. Once upon a time, it was not that way. Now, yes, bad press will absolutely kill a game and cause a studio to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. So my guess is Take-Two is probably called Randy into their offices and said, "You done fucked up." We'll see where it goes from there.
Being a fan of the franchise based on how much disposable income a person might have. You're not a real Nintendo fan if you're not going to shell out $1,000.
You'd think, Brevin. Oh, Selena, you are very, very welcome. And Selena, I did not give him a kiss. I left that all to you because I knew you would be the one to give him his happy birthday kiss. So I hope you've got something wonderful planned for him for his birthday tomorrow.
For a Switch 2 at release and all the peripherals, and can you imagine Nintendo saying that? I mean, they're thinking it. I'm sure they're thinking it. They're like, yeah, we want rich gamers. We don't want these broke ass people. But someday we're not going to incentivize them to save up
they're
to
trying
buy
to cater
product
to the whales
for
whatever reason.
If we behave like assholes online, I'm just saying. So there we go. Gonna wrap it up, guys. You gonna buy Borderlands 4?
For whatever reason, they are catering to
really,
the whales.
Don't care. I don't know if a lot of people are gonna care, unless it's the best damn game ever. Highly unlikely, but there it is. Please subscribe. We'll talk later. For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.
Yeah. And that's what it is. They are, for whatever reason, they are trying to cater to the whale demographic. Whales make them money, but they don't make them money in the quantities that they can get by catering to the general populace. Whales can give you a very brief, somewhat high influx of cash, but not sustainable levels. Like, Starfield is doing the same thing. Starfield did that. No. Star Citizen, not Starfield. Star Citizen did the same thing where they basically, like, bitch slapped their player base by talking about the new AI blades for the ships and how much they're going to cost. They tried to backpedal. And there's a suspicion that Star Citizen is out of money. Forgetting not that Star Citizen has made $800 million since it first launched its alpha, which is where it's still in.